Up next on this Storm Alert edition of MOTV Forecast, we are tracking Cristobal. Find out where the storm is going and how strong it will become. Also up next, parts of the northeastern Gulf have been suffering from drought. How much will Cristobal help? And finally, we have your national forecast for the next 7 days. That's all right here, right now, on a Storm Alert edition of MOTV Forecast. Well, welcome into MOTV Forecast. I'm meteorology student Riley Winch here, and we are tracking Cristobal as it is currently a tropical depression over the Yucatan Peninsula, expected to emerge over the Gulf Coast later tonight. And we're expecting a landfall here around Louisiana in the United States. So let's get into the latest with Cristobal right away here as... Here we go, it's working. This is our satellite right now, and as you can see, it doesn't look very organized. That's because it's currently over land. It's been over land for the past couple days, and it is finally going to start moving northwards tonight, emerging over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, which will help it strengthen from its current state of a tropical depression back into a tropical storm. And if we take a look basically at the history of this storm right now, this video basically shows it made landfall as a mid-grade tropical storm in Mexico, and it is now a tropical storm, and it is moving northwards over the Yucatan Peninsula before it will emerge over the Gulf Coast, or the Gulf of Mexico rather. But if we take a look right now, we can see the rainfall forecast for parts of Mexico and Central America. And it's been raining there quite a bit. It's been causing problems with flooding. A couple more inches of rain on the way before this system really starts to move out into the Gulf of Mexico and away from the area. Now, if we take a look at what is steering this tropical storm, or what will be a tropical storm very shortly, we have two high-pressure systems that this storm is really going to be squeezed in between. And that's going to cause it to move northwards, likely making a landfall along the Louisiana coastline as we head into late this weekend. Now, ahead of it, we do have wind shear. And what wind shear does is it pretty much is a different direction of wind than at different levels of the atmosphere. And what it does is basically rip the circulation of these tropical cyclones apart. And while not extremely strong and not enough to pretty much destroy the storm, we do expect the wind shear to keep the storm relatively weak, keep it from strengthening too much over the next couple days as it moves towards the U.S. Gulf Coast. But it's still expected to strengthen a little bit, and there's the possibility that this could become a low-grade hurricane is not out of the question. But if we take a look at its official track from the National Hurricane Center, we can see that this storm will be moving north, emerging over the waters of the Gulf of Mexico later tonight into this evening, and therefore re-strengthening it into a tropical storm because the waters are very warm in the southern Gulf of Mexico compared to average. And this current tropical depression will strengthen to likely a mid-grade 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm by Sunday evening, when it is expected to make landfall along the Louisiana coastline. Now, this is a very weak storm as of right now. Should be a mid-grade tropical storm around landfall as of our current model guidance, but it's a pretty large circulation overall, and that is still, even with it being a weak storm, is going to cause some storm surge problems along parts of the Gulf of Mexico, specifically the farther east you go along the Gulf coastline, because that's where we're going to be seeing the circulation push water ashore. And parts of the Big Bend region of Florida and areas along the Louisiana coastline will be seeing the worst of the storm surge, about 2 to 4 feet. So not super significant, but it's enough to cause problems. 2 to 4 feet from where the tide usually is, where the shoreline usually is. That's still a little bit too much water. So it's still, potentially going to cause some problems. Hopefully we see not too many of them. It is a low storm surge total, so it's likely that we will be seeing not too many issues, but still enough to cause some problems. And areas in green here between Biloxi and Panama City, Florida, and parts of the Florida Peninsula expected to even get in on 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. But let's take a look at the tropical storm advisories we are seeing for Cristobal now. We're seeing tropical storm watches have gone in effect as of this morning for parts of the Louisiana coastline to the Florida Panhandle. Now that means tropical storm conditions are possible within the next couple days. And there's even tropical storm watches in effect for parts of the Yucatan Peninsula. As the storm moves away from the Yucatan Peninsula, it will strengthen and potentially bring some tropical storm impacts to the Yucatan Peninsula there. Now, let's take a look at the 5-day forecast for New Orleans, Louisiana, because what we're seeing here in this 5-day forecast is today pretty much your last day of dry weather. It's going to be hot today, 90 degrees, not much in terms of precipitation, but we're going to be seeing that coming as we head into this weekend. For day tomorrow, it should be fine until later in the day. The outer edges of Cristobal and storms start moving into the area. And Sunday is our main day for Cristobal. We're expecting the wind to be its strongest on Sunday and the storms to be their heaviest on Sunday as the center of circulation moves in with that expected Sunday evening time frame. Now, early next week, we're going to see the storms linger around. Okay, Monday into Tuesday, still getting in on that stormy weather. So we're just expect in the New Orleans area a couple days of stormy weather related to Cristobal, and a lot of rain and flooding impacts are expected. So just be cautious, be wary about that. Now, if we take a look at our drought monitor, parts of the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, or northeastern Gulf coastline, rather, are experiencing quite a bit of a drought, especially in areas stretching from New Orleans to Tallahassee. That's where we're seeing pretty much a moderate to severe drought monitor. And Cristobal, the good news about this storm it is expected to help. As we head through Tuesday, this is your rainfall forecast. And notice, most of this rainfall is expected to happen outside of the cone of uncertainty, meaning the worst of the weather and the worst impacts from Cristobal will be on its eastern side. It's going to be a little bit of a lopsided storm here. And as the center of circulation moves its way into Louisiana, we're going to be seeing parts of that northeastern Gulf of Mexico coastline getting in on a couple inches of rain. Right now, expecting upwards of 3, 5, 8 inches, depending where you are, of rain along that northeastern Gulf coastline where we are experiencing a drought. So this might help either knock out the drought altogether or significantly help it. But unfortunately, it's a lot of rain coming at one time, which means that a lot of rain coming at one time presents flooding issues, even when there's a drought. So that's something, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about the next couple days, flooding issues along the Gulf of Mexico coastline. But in the long term, it will be helping our drought there, which is some good news because you don't want to be seeing too much of a drought ever, really. And flood alerts in effect right now, we can see most of the flood watches are in effect for not the panhandle of Florida, but the peninsula of Florida. Well away from the center of circulation from this storm, but Cristobal will continue to bring a lot of rain to the Sunshine State, even though its center of circulation will be miles and miles away. Now, parts of New Orleans and southeastern Louisiana, where the center of circulation of Cristobal is expected to move through, are also under flood watches and flood warnings right now, expecting these to become more significant alerts as we get closer to Cristobal's landfall. Now, let's switch gears here from Cristobal to our national forecast to talk about what's going on around the rest of the country. We are seeing today a pretty stormy day along the East Coast here in Flanders, New Jersey. It's actually drizzling a little bit as I'm doing my forecast here. But in terms of severe weather, that really is expected to be more around the Arkansas, Missouri area. And if we take a look more into the severe weather threat for today, we have pockets of severe weather expected or possible along parts of the Rockies, along parts of the Midwest, where it's expected to be most severe, and parts of the East and Mid-Atlantic from areas like North Carolina to South Jersey are under that potential for some severe weather today as we get headed throughout the afternoon and evening hours. And if we head into tomorrow, we're expecting that severe weather to really shift more towards being a threat along the Rockies and the Northwest. Quite a bit of precipitation expected on the way for the Northwest tomorrow. Areas like Portland getting in on that rain. Seattle could be seeing a couple rumbles of thunder here or there. Temperatures in the upper 50s to the low 60s for the Pacific Northwest. Beautiful weather across the South, although they will be preparing for Cristobal's arrival. And the Sunshine State expected to be stormy, most of this due to Cristobal. And the Northeast still got some, depending where you are in the Northeast, farther towards New England, expecting to see the more wet, stormy weather. But parts of the Mid-Atlantic should be nice and sunny and hot as well. And as we head into Sunday, we see Cristobal starting to make its impacts on the Gulf of Mexico states. And the Northeast should be beautiful. Mid-Atlantic, Midwest should be nice weather, warm weather, and there's not much of a severe weather threat except for parts of the northern plains. And again, seeing that cooler, rainier weather in the Pacific Northwest, while the Pacific Southwest staying fairly dry and comfortable. Now, Monday, we start to see Cristobal's impacts start to move farther inland as the center of circulation moves farther inland. We're going to be seeing the rain start to move inland as well. And then we're going to be seeing this really start to affect all of the Central Plains as we head into our Tuesday. And then we're going to see the unsettled wet weather start to move farther east as we head into your Wednesday and Thursday. Now, if we take a look at our 5-day forecast here for Flanders, New Jersey, we are seeing the threat for isolated thunderstorms with a 30% chance of precipitation in our area. A nice temperature of 75 degrees, but it is currently drizzling here. My keyboard for my computer is a little bit wet as well from this weather. But as we head into the weekend and early next week, the threat for precipitation is really going to essentially go away. We're going to be dealing with a lot of dry and warm weather ahead for the next couple days. So expect some beautiful weather, great to get outside for not only your weekend, but into early next week. And temperatures staying around the mid 70s to low 80s mark. And before we go here, let's take a look at our temperature outlook for the long term between June and August, basically this summer. We're going to be seeing warmer than average weather, temperatures rather, for much of the East Coast and the West Coast and southern United States. Really the only part not expected to see noticeable above average temperatures will be the Midwest. And as we head into our precipitation outlook for this summer, we're expecting it to be slightly wetter than average in the eastern part of the country, while slightly drier than average in the western part of the country. Well, I do want to thank you guys so much for joining me here on MOTV4CAST. It was great seeing you guys here today. I will see you guys back next Friday at 2 p.m. to talk about the weather that's going on then. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a great weekend, Mount Olive and the rest of the country.